guys, it's Sierra. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be about our emo daddy, Eli Goldsworthy from Degrassi. So this video is really going to dive into Eli Goldsworthy as a character, specifically his mental health, because baby, the writers put Eli through it. The last time we saw a character go through it as much as Eli has is Craig. So yeah, we skipped a few, you know, classes in between there that really didn't have as much of an impact as Craig and Eli have had. But this video, let's start off with who is Eli Goldsworthy, his past, the hoarding, his bipolar disorder, Cam's death, his behavior. I think that's it. And kind of like lessons learned, but also I just really wanted to not even really dive into like lessons learned from Eli, but just really understand how the hell they could do this to him. Like it's just like the complexities of Eli and everything that they put him through, to be quite honest. So starting off, who is Eli Goldsworthy? Eli Goldsworthy is introduced season 10 and with the most iconic line.
I think they're dead.
It's okay. I don't need them anymore. God.
You have pretty eyes.
Thanks. I'll see you around.
Guess you will.
Loved him. I swoon every time. Maybe it's because the actor Monroe Chambers is also just like really cute too. So every time he like does like the little smirk, I still melt to this day. I'm like, oh my God, I love him so much. But he is the only child to Cece and Bullfrog, which by the way, I noticed that when I was rewatching it, the actress who plays Cece is Ellen in Ginny and Georgia. Yeah. And it's also the character Ileana from Twitches. Mind-boggling. I had never put that together until I was watching it. I was like, her face looks so familiar. And then I heard, yeah, don't yell at Ellen. I'm like, anyway, that's just something that I put together. And he is a writer and pretty much a creative person. He does plays and all that kind of stuff later on in the show. So starting off with his past. First, Eli dated a girl, Julia, prior to joining Degrassi. And she died getting hit by a car after they had a fight. I put in parentheses a reference that not many people would get, but it's giving Wheels. If you don't know, Wheels was a character in Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. And at the beginning of Degrassi The Next Generation, so in season 1, when he does come back, we find out that Wheels, his parents prior to the show, his parents died in a car accident. And so in the first season of Degrassi The Next Generation, we find out that Wheels got into a car accident and ended up hitting a boy, and the boy ended up, yeah. So this kind of situation was giving Wheels, because I'm just like, oh, in the opposite direction, because it is the victim getting hit by a car. But still, it's a Wheels situation, to be quite honest. And then leads into his hoarding. So his hoarding, we see the first sign of Eli being a hoarder in season 10 in Umbrella Part 1, when Claire goes to his locker and he opens it up and everything just falls out. We're like, oh, maybe he's just messy. And then after she cleans it up, he flips the fuck out. And rightfully so. Why are you in my locker? Why are you touching my shit? And she's like, you're just messy. Girl, that is not your business. As someone who is a clean person, a neat freak myself, I ask for permission to do that kind of stuff, okay? You ask, because you don't know what people like to keep. You don't know what people need. Maybe they need those notes from 2 semesters ago because they still behind in the class that they're in now, or maybe they need help understanding that. You don't know. Don't touch people's shit. Don't go in their locker like that. Just don't. Ask for permission first. If you're gonna help them straighten out, just be like, hey, I would love to help you if you want to get reorganized or whatever. But don't do what Claire did. That's how you tick people off real quick. Those who are hoarders and those who are not. That's how you just tick people off regardless. And so his parents, after their fight, their little situation, Claire goes to Little Mistakes and he's there with his parents. And his mom, Cece, says, oh, no, not Cece, Bullfrog. Bullfrog was like, oh, we've been trying to get a girl into Eli's room for a long time. And that to me kind of like gave a hint of like, oh, interesting. They're very comfortable with Eli dating. They're very much more, I wouldn't say completely hands-off parents, because later on we do see parts where they do like step in and do what they need to do as parents. And they're very aware of how raising their child gave him too much leeway. So I won't say that they're like negligent parents, but they were very comfortable about Eli dating, Eli having a girl in his room. Julia lived with them at some point because she had issues with her aunt, I believe it was. So they're very much parents who are just very accepting and very open. So, which is different from the parents that we normally get on Degrassi. We either get the overbearing and controlling, like Drew's mom, or we get Craig's dad. We never see like a middleman type of thing, situation going on. So there's that. And so it kind of made me also think that maybe they knew his room was messy, but not to the extent that it was. Because in the second episode, in part 2, we see that he has a lock on his door, and I don't know if they had always known there was a lock there, but they at least know of his messiness. Like they know some things. Like maybe they're just like, oh, he just wants privacy or whatever. But they don't ask questions about it. They don't interrogate him about that. They're not hounding him about it. They're like, just don't be doing drugs, I guess. Like, and even they're probably like, just do it at the house. Like they're giving very much they're very much giving God damn it, why can't I think of a freaking name? My God. Mean Girls. I'm giving very much, my God. My mind is so frazzled right now. Regina George's mom. There we go. My God. But they also probably knew that Eli has never been neat. He's not he's a teenager, so it's completely normal. And then also with Julia's death, it had a major effect on him. So they were probably just like, let's just take it easy because it was such a traumatic event. So they probably didn't put 2 and 2 together, like his traumatic event plus him being extremely private. They're probably just like, he needs time to grieve, because we don't know how long they had been together, him and Julia, but we know that obviously the death has a huge impact on him. And the fact that she lived with his family for a while, that also just shows that they were very comfortable with her too. So it was like it was a loss for all 3 of them, really. So they were just like, let's just take it easy. We're not gonna be hounding him about anything. So the hoarding incident, from him being a hoarder and Julia's death, I feel like in a way his mind kind of connected the fight and his home to Julia's death. Because a lot of times when it does come to hoarding, there is a traumatic situation that gets tied to something. We're not always sure about how that process looks. It could be to a specific item, it could be to the house, but somehow in the person's brain, they associate the trauma with stuff. The brain is a very wild thing in how the brain does what it does. But in a way, Eli's brain, I feel like it kind of connected like his home and Julia. So once Julia dies, his brain is like, I can't move anything in my room. I can't take anything out of this room, because it reminds him of Julia, but also that if he does remove anything, it will get removed permanently. So they had a fight. Julia left the room. Julia left the house. Julia died. Like, it feels like to that extreme. So it feels like that's what he does say to Claire. That's like, if whatever he throws out something, he feels like someone's going to get hurt. That's how his brain connects it. And it's so sad and so interesting how the brain and how it can associate certain things like that with traumatic situations. Let's go into his bipolar disorder. So after crashing the hearse for Claire, Yeah, I'm jumping because you're probably like, oh my God, what the hell happened in the middle? See, this is why you need to watch Degrassi, because you'll know all the mess in the middle. Because all the time, I don't have time to get into all the details, because you gotta keep it rolling. So after crashing the hearse to get Claire to stay with him, he is diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and it doesn't show what type of bipolar disorder, probably because it wasn't discovered until later, like the bipolar 1 and 2, they probably didn't differentiate it till later, because this was like 2011 up 2012 when they did have this season, and so maybe they didn't really develop or really didn't understand bipolar disorder, and didn't know that there are different types of it and different aspects of bipolar disorder until probably like later on. I have the DSM-5 over here somewhere. I could probably look in there, but I'll let you know maybe at the end of the video. But even then, but still, like, that's just probably the consensus of what they thought. And so to me, when I was looking over my abnormal psychology notes, it seemed like he had some signs of hypomania, and I feel like it was really heightened when Imogen convinces him to not take his medication. Yeah. So that's where I feel like it kind of amped up, because he wasn't taking it. So he was going through those really high highs. And then when Imogen pretended to be Claire, he hit those lows fast. As soon as because he wasn't talking to Claire, he wasn't seeing Claire, he was on the medication, he was numb, so he could look at her dead in her face and not feel anything. But the fact that he wasn't on his medication when he was with Imogen, and Imogen put on this Claire persona, he was able to finally hit that low where he got in her face and started to scream like, I hate you, I hate you. Like, that was coming from a deep, dark place down there. I was down there. But even then, even in that darkness, at that dark level, when he was saying that he hated Claire, somehow in there he still loved her. And he wanted her back. Like, he hit that high so high when he got that high, hit that mania with just being like, I feel like I'm on top of the world. I'm gonna change the play 30 million times and not really be consistent with communicating the changes with other people. This is when Fiona was like, babe, you didn't tell me about this. What the fuck you doing? And he was like, it's gonna be great. You're gonna change everything. She was like, are you okay? We were all like, are you okay? And then when he hit that low in that situation with Imogen, he hit it hard. And then he just wanted Claire back. And that's when I feel like that's when the play took a nosedive. And that's how we ended up with the love roulette that we get on stage, where the entire play is just complete trash, pretty much, because he was so manic and then so depressed when working on this play. And so he ends up finishing up the play with his monologue and burning a page from his play, part of the scripts. Everyone's just like, okay. What is this? He actually goes back to taking his medication. He actually starts to integrate more, I don't know, but he starts to incorporate other things into while taking his medication. So he starts to exercise more. He's going on runs, he does bike rides, he's very active. So it's probably also when, like, with taking the medication, it does help out with his moods and stabilizes him, but probably also at times when the medicine does wear off, he'll probably hit a high, probably still hit a little bit of a mania, where he actually starts to exercise, and then that will even him out, because you can't take the medication 24/7 all the time. It's not how it works. That's how you get addicted to anything like that. But probably with his therapist, they were able to find like a nice medium where he could take the medication, but also learn different techniques to mellow him out when when it starts to kind of like get a little bit imbalanced, because the medication is not going to do everything for you. You're going to have to do some things yourself as well. You're going to have to form other techniques in different ways to try to keep that balance in check, type of thing. And something that I did want to mention, like I said, the last time we had a dynamic character like this was with Craig, and I don't know if a lot of the, well, I don't know how they got to the point of having Eli having a lot of these struggles, because they had it with Craig, and Jake Epstein did an amazing job. So I would say that, to me, it seems like a lot of actors are really good on the show, but I don't know if maybe Monroe Chambers had been acting longer, or maybe they had him do different tests when it came to him auditioning for the show, displaying different emotions or different things, or maybe they saw something in him where they were just like, you know what, for Eli, we're gonna give him everything because you did phenomenal. Yeah, you gonna do all of that for us. Like, I don't know if it was kind of like that when it came to like trying to figure out Eli's story too, because I would love to talk to like a writer about that. Like, how did that come about when you do it like season by season, when it comes to how you're going to navigate this character's journey? Like, did you plan it out prior to, or is it like an episode by episode basis or a season base? And since he was introduced in season 10, like, did they have a plan for season 11 already, or did they just go off of each episode's interactions? Because we do see him aggressive when it comes to the whole Fitz situation, but I feel like that's very much on the matter of principle of defending Claire, but also not letting bullies get to you type of thing. But he did take it too far. So we did see sides of Eli that could go there. And I'm not saying like that was our first moments of seeing him bipolar or anything like that, but we can see the emotional range that Eli has and the ability to be vindictive and do stuff like that. And maybe they probably saw that. They were like, oh, we can do something with this, because if this character is doing this kind of stuff, how can we navigate Eli as a character later on? That's just something that I was thinking about. But anyway, on to Cam's death. So our Eli finds Cam in the greenhouse when they're walking into the school. Him and Claire have coffees in hand, and he turns Claire around so Claire doesn't see. She's like, he's like, I'm gonna take the hit for both of us, babe. And he's like, go get Simpson. That's how we start off. I forgot what episode it was, but that's how we start off. That's literally how we start off the episode, with Eli finding him in the greenhouse. And that's actually when we get our first interaction between him and Simpson, where Simpson recounts his experience in Degrassi High. Because if you don't know, the actor who plays Mr. Simpson was the actor for Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High when he played Snake. So he had been on the show the entire 30 years pretty much. I think he was probably on the Degrassi Kids on the Street show. He probably was. I can't find it anywhere. I haven't watched it, so I don't know. But he could have been. But we know that he's been on from Degrassi Junior High to Degrassi High as Snake. And Snake did find a student who unalived himself in the bathroom. So I felt I was like, oh, thank goodness we have a scene where Simpson can relay this information, because we didn't have that conversation between Simpson and Sean when it comes to the incident with Ricky. Even though he didn't find Ricky, but still, it's the experience and the trauma of someone unalived in front of you type of thing. You know, I'm just saying. I feel like we should have had that with that situation too as well. But it felt good to have Simpson talk to him about that, and knowing what it feels like to be in that situation, and the emotions that it comes with, and how it can shake you and shape you as a person just from witnessing that. I feel like that added more trauma to his body, and so his body starts to react a certain way, but I wished they showed his body reacting differently, because he does do drugs to numb the pain, numb the trauma of finding Cam. Because like he says, he's like I didn't want, he's like it's not my fault that I found him. He's like, I didn't want to be the person who found him. That, like, why me? Why did I have to see him like that? But I would have loved to have seen him like maybe like lose his appetite, or I don't know, like maybe like some of his coping mechanisms, addition to his medication, maybe some of his coping mechanisms don't help. Maybe he stops going for runs. Maybe he's at home in the bed and Claire's like knocking on the door and being like, oh, where's he? Like, they're like, oh, he's on a bike, right? And his bike's right there. That type of thing. I feel like I would have loved to have seen that more when it comes to depicting Eli and all the trauma and how it affects his body, especially as he starts to get better, how that can hit you, because now there's more trauma being added to the situation. But yeah, I would love to have seen like him like lose, have like lack of sleep type of thing, and more struggles on that, because it seemed so much that Cam's death was revolved around Claire trying to get him to talk, and he didn't want to talk. And I feel like it was more than beyond that. I would love to have seen more of what he was, how it impacts him, how it impacted him as a character outside of like, let me just go ahead and do drugs with Jake. Which, by the way, that was so weird. It was like, okay, like I get it, and this is kind of like a Craig situation, but listen, let's not turn him into Craig. Okay, let's not do that. Okay, jumping to his behavior. So just his behavior and overall in general, he came onto the show with a very like nonchalant attitude, and it really amped up with the Fitz situation. So like I said, that's when we see that he can be a little vindictive, he can be relentless. You know, he got that crazy side of him, not like crazy, you know, like, but like, you know, he got that edge to him. And we see that his bouts of anger and mania towards Claire with cleaning out his locker, and things start to slowly build. And then with Claire, it starts to slowly build up to when he crashes his hearse, gets on medication, and everything starts to lull out, and he's able to manage and live life like a normal teenager. And then with Cam's death, then there's Claire's overbearing nature, and being really controlling towards him on that, to get him to talk when he didn't want to talk. Very avoidant about that. Oh, I missed a point. But yeah, going back to prior to crashing the hearse, he became very overbearing, controlling when it came towards Claire, and their relationship, and being like, we're gonna go on this trip with my parents. Oh my God, we gotta be together. We're gonna be partners in crime. We're gonna be writers. And Claire's like, and I feel that because he was doing a little bit much. But we can actually see that that's where I feel like watching it again, that's when his mania was starting to hit even more as they progressed to the hearse incident. It was just like inching upwards with like every interaction. And as Claire is pulling more and more away, he's becoming more like, it's becoming more intense, to the point where he crashes his hearse and everything overflows. And then let's go all the way, let's fast forward past that to the Claire and Drew incident. See, it was wild, because honestly, with him being in New York, going to school, he is so immersed in his world that it's hard to pull him out sometimes. And I feel like that's when some hyper focused tendencies do come about for Eli. Oh, excuse me. So it was very hard for him to like pull away and know when to stop to talk to Claire. But also when it just comes to like being in relationships, when one person is in college while the other one is still in high school, it's tough anyway. It's completely two different worlds. In college, you're on your own. You're able to do what you want when you want to do it. You're able to, if you want to go party, you can go party. You still have to do your homework, but you know, you have your homework to do. You have to keep track of career pursuits, like what you want to do, because you can't be in college forever. It's freaking expensive. So you start to gain different experiences, like especially if you're in the art world, if you're in that entertainment type of field, you have more experiences outside of the classroom. You have to do like internships. A lot of it's going to be unpaid or very low pay. You're going to be part of your friend's art exhibit. You're going to help them with stuff. You're going to take up odd jobs to be the model for like a sculpture class. You're going to run a sculpture class. You're going to do different things because that helps build your portfolio, because in that field, it's more of your portfolio, who you've worked with and then what you have, the knowledge you have gained and the skills you have gained along the way, versus like getting your degree and the stuff that you learn from your degree put you in a job. It's completely different. So I feel like for Eli, it was a lot to navigate when it comes to doing his plays, productions, communicating, and getting to network pretty much with other professionals, with other students, because then he starts to build connections with students who might have different abilities that he needs for plays, or even just connecting with people in general too, because he is in college now. He can make friends, and Adam's gone. His only friend at the time was Imogen and Fiona. Fiona's in Paris now. Imogen's, we don't know where Imogen ends up. We don't know if she ends up in New York. We don't know. So he's literally starting from scratch and starting to build new friendships, build new connections. So it was kind of hard for him to keep in contact with Claire. And with Claire, she had been going through chemo, and he tried his best to be there for her, but he can't do everything all the time. He can't be Superman. And so she's going to need to rely on the people who are literally in the area. And unfortunately, it's not Eli, but girl, what do you want him to do? He can't fly out to freaking Canada every time there's a situation. It's not feasible, and it's not possible. So you're gonna have to lean on other people. So she does end up leaning on Drew, which cultivates feelings. We're not gonna get into that. But she ends up calling Eli, leaving a voicemail, and breaking up with him over voicemail, which I don't even think, technically it works, technically it doesn't work. I don't know, because she does say, our relationship is over. But I feel like you gotta wait till the other person hears that, and then it can be like finished. You can say it, but if the other party doesn't know that, if they're not informed about you deciding to break up with them, then it gets very muddled, it gets very messy. So I feel like both parties need to know that this is the end. So yes, you called him and you left a voicemail, but he needs to hear that voicemail. And once he hears that voicemail, then it could be like, okay, this is done. Or like he decided to come back up to Degrassi and try to fight for it. But as it comes up there, Claire and Drew, so it gets very messy. She ends up getting pregnant, which is, I feel like, so unneeded. Not needed at all. So unnecessary for her to get pregnant. But then when she tries to tell him that the baby is his, he calls her out her name, which I feel like that was out of character for Eli. For him to be upset, that's normal and valid, and to be like very much like out of the loop and very confused with what's going on. But for him to call her out her name, I feel like that was out of pocket. That's not something Eli would do. This man literally, at his lowest of lows, said that he hated Claire, but still loved her and wanted to get her back. You think this is the guy that's gonna call her out her name? I don't think that's the same guy. Like, I feel like he would just be so mad and so frustrated and confused that he would probably, like, obviously he would be upset. He wouldn't want to talk to her, or maybe if he did want to talk to her, it would come out kind of harsh, but not to that level. I don't feel like he would say that. Even though he is diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I don't think it's that level with how much he has loved her this entire time. But that is all that I have for you guys. Technically, there aren't any lessons learned. It was just really just diving into Eli's mind and how everything cultivated and happened to him and how he kind of evolved from that situation. Then they tried to ruin him with that moment, but I still love Eli. I think that was just very much out of character. He would never say that to her, but he would have been upset. And over time, he did get over it and did actually end up talking to her about it and going to the ultrasound. And ultimately, she loses the baby anyway. Like I said, pointless. Whatever. They just wanted Eli to come back, but y'all could have had Eli come back in a different way. But whatever. Anyway, that's all that I have for this video. If you like this video, be sure to like it, comment below. anything you love about Eli or anything interesting you found about Eli. And until next time, stay magical. Bye.